take a few courses and you know what, you'll be licensed. And I'm like, well, God, that sounds easy. Let's do that, you know? So, and I always like to say I didn't start with a bang. I only made $3,000 gross. Jimmy said, this is super gross because I've spent 15 for you to make 3. He goes, this math is not what I expected of you.
It's nowhere near where we were expecting this to go.
You know, back then, honestly, you went to work at a real estate company, and I didn't get in the beginning because I picked the wrong companies. I didn't even get the week-long training that most people got. There was no training. I literally was getting up at 5 a.m., going to the gym with my independent broker, running on the treadmill beside her going, how do I get a listing again? Where am I going to find a buyer? I mean, literally. And of course, everybody that walked through her door wanted Jean. They didn't want me. So I, eventually figured out that somebody out there could help me figure out how to sell real estate. So I started going to seminars. Someone a title person paid for me to go to a Mike Ferry seminar. And that changed everything because I realized that anything you want to do in life, if you'll go find the people that have already done it and just ask them enough questions, all you got to do is do what they tell you to do, right?
True.
Well, that's what happened. I started going to a Mike Ferry seminar, made Jimmy go with me because the girl that had committed to go with me, the economy was so bad by the time the event came around out at Palm Springs. By the time the event came around, she'd already went and got what we called a real job because she was sick of trying to sell real estate in a down market. So that left nobody to go with me. So I just looked at Jimmy and said, guess what? We're going to Palm Springs. He's thinking pina coladas by the pool. And I'm thinking, you can go to all the classes I can't get to so that we can cover more material. But it was really a good thing that he went because when we went there was a banner on the wall that said 50 plus, 100 plus, 150 plus. Jimmy says, I didn't even know what the heck they were plussing, But the light bulb came on because we saw right there that, man, there are people up on that stage. Matter of fact, we met Tony DeCello and we fell in love with him because he was making $600,000 and that was our magic number. That's what we needed, $600,000. We like to say we would have slept in his room if he would have invited us, but instead we took him to the movies, we took him to dinner, we rollerbladed with him, we did whatever he would do with us to pick his brain. How do you make $600,000 in real estate sales? So that's kind of was how we got started. But in the back of our mind, the pain, I always say if you give it long enough, the greatest adversity that you go through, if you learn the lessons and you give it time, it can be the greatest blessing that happened to you. And that's what happened to us because it was a wake-up call early and it made us go, I don't think we ever want to experience this again. So let's go find who are the people that when life happens, and life will always happen, right? Gradually and suddenly that happens, who are the people that they don't have to go through all this, that they're prepared and, this doesn't affect them the same way. And so that's when we started reading books and we read Robert Kiyosaki's book, Cash Flow Quadrant. And that was a game changer for us because he showed you the little quadrant where, and I'm sure you guys have seen it, but on the right side was the wealthy people that were getting all their money from businesses and assets. And then on the left side of the people were all the rest of us that were getting our money from either being an employee or being self-employed. And at that time, 100% of our money was coming from self-employed. We had no jobs. My husband, had started to get rid of the nightclub businesses because they weren't doing well. And so we literally had real estate sales. That was our income. And that was self-employed, right? So once we read that book, we said, okay, what we have to do is we have to, over the next wherever amount of time it takes, we got to get as much of our income coming from the right side and as we possibly can. That's the trick. So we set out and when we read his book, I love when people make complicated things simple, and he made it so simple. There's only 3 ways to build wealth: real estate investing, stocks, or businesses. Now you got to understand where we were at the time. He had owned businesses and we were a little burnt about businesses,
Very
right?
burnt.
We were a little wounded. And stocks did not appeal to either one of us to learn or understand. And we had watched everybody that lost all their stuff in the late 80s in Texas. They were doing things called speculating. They weren't really investing, meaning they were buying on what the asset would do, not what the asset was doing when they purchased it. So knowing all that, we said, look, if we're not interested in understanding and learning stocks, then I'm going to just be honest with you, we're going to not do that because that would be another gamble and we can't take those kind of risks. So we put stocks aside and that left real estate investing. And so we said, okay, let's do it with real estate investing. I mean, how hard can that be, right? We're helping other people buy houses. Surely we can figure this out. So we set a plan together to make $250,000, and we figured it out that we need to buy 20 properties. And we used Jimmy's age because he's 9 years older than me. And so we said, okay, by the time you're 60, let's have 250,000 coming in passively. Let's work that backwards and figure out what we got to be doing. So we worked it backwards. It meant 20 properties. We gave ourselves 5 years, over the next 5 years, to buy those properties. And they needed to, once they were paid off, give us between $1,000 and $1,200 a month. And that was our original plan. And so I went out immediately. I'm the kind of person, once I get decide something in my mind, and I believe this is true for everybody. I believe you start to see opportunities you couldn't see before. When you put a plan in place and you make a decision to do something, for me, I believe the good Lord kind of just starts putting things in your path. The people you need, the books you need, the opportunities you need, and you just have to have the courage to step into those, right, and go ahead and do it. So I found the first deal. I was super excited, came home, and Jimmy goes, Linda, we are climbing out of $600,000 worth of debt. Where do you think we're going to get this money to buy this house? And I said, I'm so excited we can make $15,000. We'll fix it up. We'll flip it. We'll make $15,000. He said, that's fine and dandy, but we can't go to the bank and we have no money. So we can't buy this house, right? So I hate the word no. So I went to sleep that night. And when I woke up the next morning, I said, Lou Craft. He said, what? I said, Lou Craft. I'm going to go to my builder that I've been working with for the past 4 years. He knows me. I know him. I'm going to ask him to partner with us. I'll throw in our commission. He'll fix up the house and we'll split the profits. And that's what we did. And then we bought another property with him. Almost the very day we sold that property, a girl in my office, the girl that was supposed to go to the real estate event with me, was working for relocation company, and she called me and said, hey, I got an RTC property and they want $15,000 for it. And I'm like, hallelujah. So I took Lou over there, and after he fell through the living room floor, he said, hey, we can make a fourplex out of this. This thing is a fourplex. And we're like, hallelujah. So we bought that one. And then we eventually bought a third one with Lou. And then later, when we split up our partnership, we said, look, Lou, we sold the first house, so that left us 2 houses. We said, we wouldn't have this without you. So you pick which house you want, we'll take the other one. So he took the second house that we bought. And the first house we still have today, and it brings in about $2,100 a month, free and clear, more than what Jimmy makes off of 40 years of Social Security payment. So pretty darn good.
Wow.
Now we've sold off some of our weaker properties, and we've disbanded a few partnerships that we had. So we're down to about 89 probably single family, but we're up on the vacation rentals that we have now. So that's kind of how we got started. And the first house is always the hardest. And after that, it just, it kind of gets easier and easier.
Awesome. Well, I can go so many different directions with this. Thanks so much. You know what I kept hearing when you were saying this is, when you're ready to hear it or learn it, it shows up. And I know we hear that in different ways here in KW. And I love when you said, start asking questions to the people who are doing great. And that's our culture, right? Which is why you agreed to be on this, is to give us that piece. And you're right, Tony DeCello, he's just someone you got to listen to no matter what. He's amazing. So, okay, first property's hard. You're right. You thought outside of the box, it sounds like. And I love that you had a plan. Kind of talk to us a little bit. And guys, if y'all have certain questions where you want us to go, raise your hand, unmute yourself. If you don't have your video on, we don't care what you look like. Feel free to put your video on. Talk to us about, so you guys, you have, now I will tell you that the next book we're looking at doing, which I know you know this book because you wrote it, or one of the co-writers, I guess probably I should say. And I've been reading through this already. We've been talking about, it's funny, the two things that you're most passionate about is the hold piece, which we found most people on here are really interested in that. And then the vacation rental piece. So let's go to the hold piece first, and then we'll dig into the vacation rentals. Does that sound good? So talk to us about your thought in regards to hold, because I don't know how many people have actually read, raise your hand if you've read Hold Yet. And I say yet because it's on your list to read next. So, so talk to us about that piece. Like, what is your thought or your advice on how you guys, I mean, because 89 properties is quite a bit.
Yeah. Well, and the reason we picked the whole strategy, and we see a lot of people that really like to do flips, and flips are fine as long as you've got your long-term plan already in place. But because even we flip a little bit right now, but we're at a different place, right? We didn't flip forever and ever and ever, because what we were after is money coming in someday to replace any cash flow that either might go away, or we just wanted options, right? We just didn't want to have to be selling real estate because we had to. We could be selling because we wanted to, or heaven forbid, if, what if the pandemic had turned out differently for real estate people? I mean, we would all be in a heck of a mess, right? But yet we would probably, I think I figured it up at one time, our rental properties, when they were all paid, was going to give us about $140,000 a month. So that was our backup plan. I'm a backup plan, and so I think everybody needs to have one piece of their portfolio that is holding, because that's somebody else paying off an asset for you and a stream of money coming in later that it's not tied to you having to go actually physically go out and make that happen. So that's why we picked hold. We were going after a number in the future, and flipping is just no more than cash flow. It's no more than if you went out and sold a house and made a commission. Those are the same thing. And most people, that's where they are in life. They've got an avenue for doing that. It's the real estate sales business. What they don't have a plan or an avenue for is in the future, when you either don't want to do that, or you just want to do it because you want to, not because you have to. So that was kind of our strategy behind hold.
How did you figure out where you wanted your hold properties? Because I own a couple, and I'm looking to, of course, build that investment side. Because like you, it's 45 now, husband 6 years older. And guys, I'm going to use my scenario until one of you guys have a question. Is, all right, I'd like to have so much passive income by a certain point, and it's not 20 years down the road when I'd like to be having more fun more often. How did you determine that? Because there's some pieces that I've seen to purchase a property right now, and everything may just get covered in the beginning. There may not be a massive cash flow. Did you guys have a certain thing that you're like, and I will be honest, I've not been all the way through the hold book, so you may be answering some of these questions here. And
you mean the cash flow part? How much were we looking for on the cash flow?
I mean, because one cash flows, I read around $300 a month, and the other one that I have is not, and then the one I'm looking at wouldn't cash flow a ton, and I'm kind of okay with that. With the one thing you said, somebody's paying off my asset.
Right. Well, everybody's going to be different about this. We were massively building our cash flow business, so we really probably lived a little bit on the edge as far as our cash flows. But we never touched that money. So every bit of money that came in went back. And there were times that we had to fork up some money for all the taxes, but we did a really good job over time trying to get those taxes down and fight them each time, so that we kept pulling those property taxes down. Property taxes in Texas are high, but, $150 to $200 minimum was our minimum. And, we definitely would not take a negative, at all. And we don't buy a house based on what it's going to appreciate to. We buy a house because it's a good deal now. And if we buy it 10% below market, we're going to put 20 down to make it a 70-30 loan to value ratio.
Got it.
Okay. If, we wouldn't be opposed to whatever we had to put down. We still think your money's better off there than anywhere else. Mm-hmm. So even if we had to put more down, that's what we would do to build a portfolio that somebody else is paying off and that's cash flowing and stuff.
Could you say those numbers one more time for us?
150 to 200. Yep, 150
to 200.
Yeah. Now, by the way, these were on 20-year mortgages, because remember, Jimmy was already 40 by the time we did that. So if you're younger and you're doing 30-year mortgages, which is what we just told our son has 3 properties, 2 of them are investment properties. We said, why don't y'all just do 30 years? You can pay that thing off earlier. But you just in case, just do some kind of, for a lot of times we did them on a little longer, and then we did some automatic, extra payments and stuff. But if you're young and you can do 30 years, then this isn't going to be near as hard to cash flow. But we were doing them on 15 to 20 years.
Okay.
So
she said 10% down.
10% down?
Yeah, 10%. Let's say, well, if we bought it 10% below market,
I'm sorry, 10% below market.
then we're going to put 20 down because we're looking for a 70 to 30 loan to value ratio. That's what, in my opinion, keeps us safe, right? So there have been times in 2008, 2009, and 2010 when the bank would actually, we were buying on the foreclosure steps, the bank would actually take the appraised value of it fixed up. So we were getting 80% and of the appraised value, and so we were not having to put hardly anything down.
Love that.
So every market's different on how much you're going to have to put down. Sometimes you're going to have to put a whole lot more. Sometimes you're going to have to put a lot less, depending on how far below market you can buy the house.
Love it. Jared, you got your hand up?
Yes. First of all, thank you, Linda, for pouring into us. We're grateful for you.
Welcome.
So diversifying, you mentioned that you guys have done a lot of holds, and then you've gotten into the vacation rentals. And the last time I ran into your husband, I was asking him about that. Yet, how do you guys diversify? So, I mean, for me personally, we have a couple vacation rentals, and we have one hold, and my wife Amber's like, we need some more holds because we're, the vacation rentals are a higher risk, I believe. And yet, how do you and your husband diversify your portfolio? Well, like, what's your strategy?
Okay, so we did safest first. Safest for any of us probably a single family, because you can always sell to a retail buyer. So that's always safest. We did that first. We bought within about no more than 40 minutes of us, because why would you go buy in other cities when you can just buy right by where you are, make it easy on yourself, right? We did buy a couple in Florida because he has a cousin, and she came to visit us one summer, and I said, she'd be an awesome little property manager. She was a police dispatcher, and so we bought a couple, but the numbers were not great for us in Florida because y'all's rents weren't like our rents, right? So we eventually sold those two. But the way we got into vacation rentals really is, if you're going to go out of the area, and vacation rentals are hard because if you're not going to manage them yourself and you have to pay, 25, 35, 40% for management, numbers are not going to work, right? So we've really went all in with those. And how we got into those is we met a girl that had come to a couple of our hold seminars, and she started buying short sales. And she bought two in Branson and could only afford one. And so she asked us to step into the other one. And we said, well, let's go see. Well, we kind of fell in love with it. And what we've noticed is we've come through several downturns, and those properties do fine. We had 200 cancellations when COVID happened. We were like, but we have them all paid off except 3. So we were going to be fine no matter what happened. However, now they're so flipping busy, we can't even get in them. So we just kind of watch, and if you go through different markets, and if you can survive COVID, I don't know. I'm not going to say there's not going to be anything worse, because good Lord, whoever thought COVID would happen, right? I'm just saying it's kind of a good indicator that for us, that area and those cabins are okay, right? So you kind of you're watching to see what's the market of the moment, and do you have a who? We're not going to buy anything out of the area unless we have the right who. So that would be our indicator of whether we would go to another area. Do we have a good partner? Do we have a good manager? What do we have there that can make us feel secure about investing out of our area? Otherwise, single families, they're right around here. Our rental property manager, we have a girl that manages just our properties, and all that stuff's right here within a driving distance for her.
You mentioned single family. Does that also include like townhomes, condos, and single family homes? Or are you just talking about like a single family home?
You know what? We would buy those if a good deal passed our plate. The reason we haven't made those our main portfolio is when you go to sell those, you have to sell to an investor, not a retail buyer. So you don't have as much huge upside, right? So that's why we haven't invested a lot in those. But we have bought them before, and we just don't, I don't think we have a single, other than in Branson, we have a condo. It's a vacation rental. We don't really have any condos or townhomes or duplexes. We've bought a few apartments, but I think we flipped out of those when we could make a huge profit. And so, you know, not that those are bad, those are good, but those are things you're going to make your money on your cash flow. You're going to buy those based on the cash flow that they're giving you right then, right?
Okay.
You're not going to probably get a whole lot of appreciation necessarily later on. You might, but.
And you had said earlier, you said buy for what can give you value now, not what it could appraise for in the future.
Yeah, don't even consider that. That shouldn't even be part of your equation, because to be honest with you, that's the people, those are called speculators, and those are the ones that have gotten themselves in a mess in real estate investing.
Well, Paul, you and I had that exact same question just last week. We said, I'm like, well, this would appraise to a certain, a couple years from now. So I'm glad you said that, Linda. Paul, you had your hand up.
Yeah, hi Linda. Thanks so much for doing this. We spoke at I think family reunion last time, and I was dying for you to come in. So I'm so glad that Kimberly was able to set it up. I really appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
So I've invested in real estate here and there, and going through different markets. So I've been doing this since '03, right? And I own the same rentals same properties that I bought back as the market started to tank, and I kind of got burned on a few too. So I have this drunk monkey thing going on about, oh, geez, well, I mean, I would love to have been buying when the market, was down, but I ran out of money and I wasn't looking for other people's money. And now the market's doing really well. So I've got a little bit of apprehension about, number one, finding deals. And number two, it's harder to make them cash flow at the moment because rents are, while rents are high, they're not keeping up. And like you, I'm a minimum kind of cash flow kind of guy. Right. And I want to make sure that I'm hedging all my bets as I go, which makes me a little bit more apprehensive when I'm evaluating properties. So I haven't bought anything probably in a few years.
Gotcha.
So my question around that is, how do I get over that?
Okay. So let me ask you a couple of questions. The properties you got burned on, explain the scenario to me of when you bought them and how you bought them.
Well, they were usually in a partnership with somebody else who flaked. And that was the biggest deal. So I ended up holding them, and the market fell. I was pouring in money every month, so it was an added expense.
So they weren't a good necessarily, that you didn't buy them under market?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. So see, to me, if you can point to those things and you could say, okay, note to self, we're not going to do that anymore. They have to be a good deal when we buy them. They have to cash flow. If I'm going to do a partnership with somebody, I need to be super careful about who I'm a partnership with. So there's a lot of things that when you just identify what those are and you just say, well, I'm not going to do those things again, we can take that off the table, and we can now say, well, good news is, look at all those great lessons you got. Yeah. Most people, they don't get the blessing of getting those kind of lessons to learn from. So now how do we turn those lessons into, number one, you being a much smarter investor this time? And there's always, you talked about not any good deals. Here's the thing. There's always distress. We call them the 4 Ds: distress, drugs, death, and divorce. They're always there. They always happen. And when those things happen, people really need people like us to step in and be able to get that property off their hands so they can regroup and start over. And so you got to say, okay, I'm going to learn how to look for those deals, and just know that they're always there, right? And you're just going to be super cautious this time about the deals you buy, and they have to be below market. And all the things, just make a list of all the things that you feel like you kind of went off the rails last time, and just say, okay, there's my list of not to do's this time, and do them, do it differently.
Cool. Thank you so much.
And again, here's the other thing. You say, how do I get myself, excited about doing it over the apprehension? If you don't do this, what does your life look like? If I say no to these, what am I saying yes to? And because I always say that when the pain is great enough of staying where we are, we will move to where we need to go. But until that pain is great enough and we sit in that space and say, well, I don't have to do this, right? Nobody has to do anything, but what are my options and what does my life look like if I do? And then what does my life look like if I don't?
Love that.
Maybe weigh it out that way.
Thank you, Linda.
Yeah.
Yes, don't rely on the lottery. Okay, we got to, Lindsay, you have your hand up, and then Jared, I see you have a question. So let's go Lindsay first.
Yeah. Hi, Linda. I wanted to know if you could speak a little more about prospecting for good deals and what techniques you've used. I know now you're probably established and people bring them to you, but you know, if you're starting out, what routes have you found success?
Probably the majority is from being in the real estate business, being a realtor. Those deals are just going to happen. You tell every realtor you know that you're looking to invest. And what we tell them now is we say, look, you can keep the commission. We don't want it. Just find us the deal, right? So it gives them a little more incentive. We've ran an ad in the paper forever that says we buy homes for cash. My brother-in-law now sends flyers out in neighborhoods too, saying that we buy homes for cash. Now we have quite a few people out looking. And I just had this aha the other day. I'm a goal-driven person. So I said to Jimmy, you know, there's really still one goal that I haven't gotten yet. I want to get a plane. I want to go where I want to go, when I want to go there. I hate restrictions. And we go to a lot of places. And so it's a hassle. You know, if I'm here and I say, okay, really by the end of the week, I really would like to go to Ohio because that's our region and that's where our grandkids are and our son, who's our regional director. But then we also need to go to Branson because we got 3 properties working right now. And then I want to go to San Diego to our beach house when I want to go. So I said, just tell me what's the number I need to figure out so that we're not making a stupid investment and we can get a plane. So Jimmy said, well, if we paid off the house, which is about $500,000, then we could just take all the house payment and that money would go towards plane. I said, okay, great. Then I started thinking, how many people would I need out there looking for flips for me? Because all of a sudden I looked up and realized part of what we did with Brad, who took over our real estate team, is when he finds deals, we partner with him. And then my nephew and my brother are in a town about 6 hours from us, and they've been in construction their whole life, but they do these little ready-made houses that you take out way out into like not the desert, but like New Mexico and places where builders, no framers will go or whatever, and they set these ready-mades and then they get them ready. So a few years ago, I said to my brother, I said, you know, what y'all need to be doing is finding vacant lots in Lubbock, Texas. And, you know, because they always have extra lumber and different things. When you have lumber and things like that, y'all should build a house on these lots. And then those become your rental houses because they're like everybody else. When they stop busting their chops out there framing houses, they're done, right? So they started doing that. Then all of a sudden, they started running across people that wanted to sell their house and it needs fixing up or whatever, but they can't go get the money because they're kind of restricted at the bank where they are. So my nephew was here and I said to Jimmy, you know what, if they need money, we need to do a few flips with them and just see how it works out. So sure enough, we've already did our first one. We each made $28,000 each on the house. And we did nothing except, well, we did drive there and take a look at it because we want to try to teach him some of the things that we've learned. And that was more like family and doing that at the same time. So what was the question?
Different suggestions on prospecting to finding deals.
Okay, so everybody, you tell everybody, you send cards out saying I buy houses for cash. You make it part of your presentation when you go on a listing and you see that a house really needs a lot of repair. You give them 2 options. You say, look, you guys can fix it up, and we always gave those options. We always said, look, if you fix it up, here's what I think we can get. If you want to cash out and not do that, here's what we would be willing to pay for you. And believe it or not, some people choose the other. And we just always write it in our contracts to make sure everybody's aware. We did not present that to these people. And then, you know, we put a little ad in the paper, and we still have a silly thing, but we still have a newspaper in town. We mail to neighborhoods that we feel like, you know, might be good opportunities. But my brother-in-law does all that now. We did it all ourselves back then, but you know, just tell everybody and look, you know, maybe get to know attorneys that handle a lot of divorces. Maybe, drive neighborhood. I'm just trying to think of all the things we've ever done. Drive neighborhoods and look for ones that are all grown up. Get out of town owner list. There's just so many ways. And I promise you that part gets easier the more you do this.
Mm-hmm. So true.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Great question. I love that. Took a ton of notes.
Yeah.
Jared, you had a couple questions. I wanted you to, did you want me to read them or do you want to ask them?
Yeah, Linda, I just had specifically, and this might be in the whole book yet. I know the market's definitely changed. What would you say your criteria is on the single family residence? Is it close to proximity to good school zones, or is it proximity to your home, or is it bedrooms, bathrooms, cash flow?
We've changed that over the years. We used to fall in love with the old hardwood floors and, window unit air conditioning. We kind of got away from those because those would wind up being our biggest, money pits. But here's the thing, those appreciated more than any. So who knows what we know, right? Anyway, we do 322s or 422s, almost all brick if we can. This is what we've changed to over the years. We're looking for appreciating neighborhoods, not one that looks like it's on the decline. And other than that, we're not super particular about anything else. Like we don't think there's a favorite school district because we think people rent in all areas. So we don't look for that kind of stuff. Again, it's a good deal when we buy it. It cash flows 150 to 250, at least. We do them on short. We have a lot of lines of credit now. So a lot of times we'll buy them with the line of credit and then we'll fix them up and then refinance them with our bank. If you're just starting out, you want to go to your lender first because there's a maximum of like 8 or 10. I can't remember what the number is now. So back in the way we started this, we did that first because the bank won't. If you go the opposite way, you're cutting yourself short on what you can actually get financing for. So go to the mortgage first, then go to the bank and start building a relationship with a local community bank. That's what we've had the best success with.
Awesome.
And then one more, I just had, out of all your different streams of income, would you say that real estate investing is the best one, or is it your profit sharing?
Profit share.
Gotcha.
By far. I get a real quick little hit when we find a property and we buy it. And then other than the vacation rentals, I'm kind of having fun. I've negotiated wholesale prices on all the furniture I buy for those, and I have fun kind of doing that. But to be honest with you, the greatest to me reward and joy is changing people's life with profit share. So I would do that all day long. So Jimmy kind of handles most of the investing now. I'm the one I start us and get us into things, and then he's a better finisher than me. I get bored and I'm ready to go do something else. And he's having a lot of fun doing the vacation rentals. I just put him on a plane this morning to go back up there because we're buying some land and stuff and houses and things like that right now. So profit share, by far profit share. No risk, no liability. You change people's lives. I love it.
Love it. And those of you guys who don't know, haven't heard the story of that, Linda, you've averaged the last 2 or maybe 3 years, 1.5 to 1.6 in profit share, $1 million a year.
Probably about 1.4 to 1.5 for the.
Yeah. So, and I love, if you guys, I'm going to ask about if you're doing the Hold seminar anytime soon. And then second, if you have a chance, do you have any group profit share that you're doing any time right now?
Oh, that's a great question. We actually just finished an online profit share course because part of the problem when we were doing the group coaching of it is it would be a quick hit and then that's it. So what we're going to do on the online course is I'm going to go back and feel what did we miss that I can add little video snippets to. I just want to make sure it's complete. Then we're going to launch the online course, and then because the good news is once you have it, then you have it. But we're going to also do once a month, we'll do a free call for anybody who has a profit share course. And what we're going to do is answer all your questions. Okay, you bought the course, you've been through this many modules. Here's what you've tried. Here's what happened. Let's talk about that. Okay, here's what you need to do next. We're going to try to move people a little more down the road of actually getting it accomplished, because when we did the group coaching, it was great while we were in it, and then everybody went away and started selling houses again, and that was it. So
the fire became hotter somewhere else, and they take off. as a team leader for 11 years.
Yeah. Or they had a question, or they didn't know how to handle something or whatever. So we're going to, once a month, we will put on that live. And I got this idea from a coach that I use on how he does his. And I'm like, I love that. I could so do that. So that's where we are right now. We just filmed about 6 hours of it a few weeks ago. They've sent it to me. I just haven't had a chance to sit down and go through each module and say, okay, what did I not think about, or what did I miss here that we need to add?
Yeah, I saw that. I saw Press put that on Facebook. How can we get that in from, like, the registration for that? Should I touch base with your assistant and I can get it to this group, or?
Okay, so here's the best way to do it. We actually have a database through Infusionsoft of everybody. So what I'm going to do is give you a text-in number, and the number is 33444, and you can put this in the chat for everybody.
Yeah, I'm doing that now. Text, you said
33444. And then you're going to text the words freedom number together as if it was one word.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to encourage you to do this anyway, because everything I've ever accomplished, whether it's profit share or investing, we started with a number that we wanted first. Never used it again after that, but just to get us going. So it's going to give you it's going to ask you for your email. When you give it your email, it's going to send you a link to a worksheet. Once you do that, you're in our system, and everybody that's in our system is going to know about the profit share course the minute we're ready to roll it out.
Yeah, no, my freedom number, I still have it. I still have it, and I have it posted on my thing, because I constantly think of, so what I was saying earlier, I've taken every class, and if you guys get a chance to be a part of this, or any group that she does on that, it's amazing. So I'm excited about the online course. I mean, that's brilliant.
Well, and here's the cool thing. If you could get your profit share up to a certain amount, you could use your profit share to now go buy more investment properties. And you know, it's real interesting. My son has a little friend. You might have heard him tell this before, but my son has a little friend that has been his friend since they were 3 years old. It is literally the rich dad, poor dad story. He grew up in our house. His mom's an educator and his dad's a manager for something. Great family. Nothing bad about their family. It's just he fell in love with our family, and he went on vacations with us. He stayed with us. You know, I took him to Quantum Leap when they were 14. I mean, he literally was like, and he still is my son's best friend, right? So when he grew up, he in press came up with the idea they were going to do exactly like Aaron Kaufman. I don't like to work with new people. I'm going to give you the formula real quick for building your profit share, just so you have it. It's relationships, so a capital R. So just put a capital R plus a capital V plus another capital V, and then put a line under those three and put a capital T. So the question is, who do you want to be a hero to? If you're going to, and this works for everything. It works for me building my portfolio. It works for me building my real estate team. It works for building Ohio Valley, Keller Williams. This is the formula. If you say, Linda, go to anywhere and build anything, this is what I would do. So who do I want to be a hero to? Who do I enjoy working with? Who do I help all day long in the real estate business? So for me, it's top producers, or what I like to say is untouchables. Those are the people that when you look out in the marketplace, you go, man, there's no way they have any issues or problems at all. They got it all together. Those are my favorite, because they don't have it all together. They're not doing what you guys are doing right here, more than likely. They're just selling a lot of houses with no time left over in their life and no money going to come in passively. So that's the first R. Who do you want to be a hero to? Who do you love helping? Who could you help for the next 25 years? Who do you not worry about what time it is, if it's time to eat or how much money you're making? That's how you know it's the right relationships. For me, with my real estate sales, it was listings. I picked listings as who I wanted to be a hero to. Okay. So the first V is validity. What's my validity? Because if I don't have validity, whoever's in that relationship box is never going to open the door to me, because I'm not valid. So how do I become valid to whoever I'm trying to be a hero to? Well, what books have I read? What knowledge do I have? What successes do I have? What failures? All those things make a person valid, right? You could even use KW's validity. So here's a perfect example. If you guys were going to go work with investors, part of your validity would come from using the MREI book and the Hold book. And those become now part of your validity, even though you didn't write them, right? Because they're part of what you have available. So There's many different ways you can use other people's validity and KW's validity and even help your own. And then the next V is what I call Zig Ziglar's famous quote: "You get what you want in life by helping other people get what it is they want." And the key part of that phrase is, what do they want? Not what do I think they should want? What am I excited about at KW? Or, what are we talking about at the moment that they should be excited about? None of that matters. What matters is what their big value gap is right at that moment when you start building a relationship with them. Because once you find that out, you're going to start dropping things into their value gap. You're going to start helping them. And by helping them, you create this amazing, magical thing called beholdenness and reciprocity. And when you help someone, they can't help but want to do something back for you. And what they're eventually going to do back for you is they're going to attend one of your Zoom trainings. They're going to go to mega camp. They're going to go to family reunion. That's going to be the the big step you ask them to do. And if they say no, you go back to dropping more in their value gap. They say yes, then they get to a place where they might self-discover that Keller Williams has everything they need to meet all their goals. See, because you're not good enough to make a seller sell, a buyer buy, or an agent join. I'm not either.
Right.
We can only get them to self-discover, and the best way to get people to self-discover is great questions that make them think, great stories that they can see themselves in, or experientially where they experience this. So perfect example is if you had a recruit on your list of 5 people, because I don't want you to pick more than 5 to start out, and one of them was super into culture and giving back, the best thing you could eventually do is give and give and give to that person. And when the time comes, invite them to our Red Day.
Right.
Don't try to explain Red Day to them. Let them experience Red Day.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of really the real simple, that's the condensed version of all of it. And that's what we go into in the course is all of that stuff. How do you pick those people? Who do you pick? Blah, 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 all those things. And then how do I start a conversation with them? How do I figure out what their value gaps are? All that stuff. And then what ideas do I have to drop into their value gaps once I learn what their value gaps are?
And it's great. It is. Yeah. Thank you for giving us a little brief thing. And I actually put in there I know I actually was showing this to one of my coaching clients yesterday, which is exactly what you just went through, which is the relationship, validity, and value over time. So thank you. All right. We have a question here. Jennifer, do you want to ask her, or do you just me read it through the questions?
You know me, I'm not scared.
I know. That's why I said that.
And I know we've gone kind of full circle, but I'm circling back a little bit. So from the very beginning, when you talked to us about how you started, you talked about that partnership. So can you talk about what you needed to leverage in that first partnership and how that's kind of evolved in, getting started? You always say the first one is the hardest, and I think all of us on here are at various stages. But,
right.
What did you use to leverage on that first deal versus, what are you leveraging now? Because it didn't sound like you had a lot of cash at the beginning, which may be the case now. So what did that first partnership look like, and what do they look like now?
Okay. Well, so the first one, literally we needed him. We couldn't have done it without him because we couldn't go to the bank and we didn't have the cash. So we just did a 50-50 partnership. I threw in my commission on the first house. And if there was commission on the second, I probably threw that in too. Anything I had, I would throw into the hopper, and he would do the work, and we would pay him, a fair price for doing the work. And then we just split the profits. So today we kind of do the same thing. If like with my nephew and him, we split it 50-50, but we put up the money, this time, because we got the money and they don't got the money, right? So we did, but he did all the work and oversaw it and found it and all that stuff. So, and that's what we do with Brad. We do 50-50 with Brad. But a lot of times, the partnerships that we do now are key people in our life that we're trying to bring them along with us rather than, succeed around them. It's like Brad, who took over my real estate team, right? And then, of course, now he's finding the deals for us. So we're not out looking really for any, yeah, we would if somebody said, hey, I got a deal, I can't go to the bank and get it. Do y'all want to split it with me? Something like that. We would do it, but we don't. We did a few with my husband's partner that was in the nightclub business with him, but we eventually got out of any of those kind of partnerships. They have to be a key person in our life or something like that. We're not looking for partnerships anymore. Because what happens in our case, a lot of times, especially if we hold them, we do all the work and then hold them, and then you're splitting the money 50-50, and we don't need it. We don't need to do that anymore. But in the beginning, it's a great way to get started if you don't have the money, and they don't have the knowledge. So you're bringing something to the table too. They don't necessarily know how to do this. And look at what their money can make in the bank right now. Nothing.
We had one question that said, thank you, Jennifer. We had one question that was like, how do you avoid conflict of interest? Like if you're going in for the listing and then you realize you want to purchase the listing for yourself for an investment. Did you have any advice on that?
Yeah, I'm just honest with them and say, look, here's the deal. We got two options here. I'm going to make you a list of all the things that if you did those things to the house, here's where the range I really feel like we could get your house to sell for. If you guys are more interested in, money faster, then you're going to need to sell to an investor. And by the way, we are investors. Then here's the range of here's what we'd be able to give you. And we just wrote it in the contract. We didn't have a special addendum. We probably should have, but we just write it in there in special provisions or somewhere. And, we never once had a person ever come back to us. And that's the reason I wanted it in writing in there somewhere, because people have a terrible memory, myself included. And so we would do that. But always, I would always give them the option of, if you will sell to a retail buyer, I can get you more money.
Love it. Love it. So yeah, and as far as addendums, guys, we can talk to our broker about that. I totally agree with that. All right, so I'm going to shift gears. It doesn't mean we can't come back to the hold side of things. Show of hands, how many of you guys would like to go through a little bit of a hold series, either with me and that? And are you going to be doing a hold seminar anytime soon, Linda?
We don't have it on the books. I just did quantum yesterday, and we've got a couple other things slated. I'm going to try to do a couple of Fierce on Zoom. I hadn't done that yet, and I hadn't done Quantum Leap till yesterday. But I'll do probably a Fierce or two somewhere along the way. But not at this point. We don't have it.
So maybe if you guys are interested in going through the whole book and stuff, then I'm happy to do something similar like we've done here. So let's jump into vacation rentals, because this is another part. When I'm looking at my portfolio, Linda, these are the two areas that I'm really focused on too, is the hold side as well as the vacation rentals. And yeah, I do know that because I know Christine Delgado is on here, and we have a little mastermind group that a couple of us are part of, and she's like, man, COVID hit, and it was like, Arr! And yet now it's picked up again where she's seeing the same thing you're seeing. So can we start with, I know Branson was a big part of your start of vacation rentals, just from the stories I've heard, or from you, of course. Can we start talking about that? So tell me a little bit about your thoughts on vacation rentals.
Yeah. They're super, they're higher intense, management. Mm-hmm. Because well, imagine you're turning them over. We were there on Sunday, and she was turning over 8 turnovers in that day. So it's more labor intensive. I think it's depending more on a key person that you can, that's going to really take care of you, so that you get good reviews and things like that. And again, you can't, I don't think the numbers work very well if you pay, high management fees. So that's why we have our own management company. And you kind of have to just, I think there's two ways to do a vacation rental. If you've got a destination place that you want to eventually go to, that would be one way. And that one probably isn't going to make you any money, but you're going to get somebody else to help you pay it off. So that's one way to think about that. But if you're going to do this as a business, it's a lot more labor intense. So you have to be prepared for that. And I would make sure that I had the right person, because those reviews make all the difference in the world.
Okay. So talk to us about how the criteria that you look at for vacation rentals, if you're looking at it more on a business side of it. Because we do have a couple people on the phone. I mean, Jared, they just bought something in the mountains, right? Jared, isn't that the way you guys look at it? Like, I want to go here, so you guys are buying something there. I know I was in the Outer Banks for the first time this summer, and I was like, I want a place here, because it had, not only I saw the high gross income that came from the vacation rentals, it was also a great place to be and hang out.
Yeah, I don't know if Linda would recommend it as a strategy. However, it was a place that we desired to go. And then once it was in our RAS, we started talking to people about it. And Jake Inger put us in contact with an OP in the area, and we picked her brain. And then before you know it, we were under contract for a home in Keystone, Colorado. And yet the financials worked, the numbers worked. And so like Linda said, though, the management fees blew us out of the water when we got out there and we started interviewing all the different management companies. Since we're not there, they go all the way up, like Linda was saying, to 40%. I mean, 40, 50%, like crazy on your numbers. So anyways, I don't know if she would recommend this strategy.
No,
Yeah,
no,
it's-
she, yeah.
It's all the numbers. If the numbers work and it's someplace you want to go and be, that's a great way to, dip your toe in the water and see. Ours were just originally always investment. And, I wish I could say, and this bugs me a little, because I like to know that I'm following something that is a good proven formula. And so with Jimmy all the time, I'm like, okay, remind me again about these vacation rentals, because we're putting a lot of money up here, right? But, the numbers do work. I think at some point, the prices may get to a point where they don't, but we're paying cash. We're still every once in a while making sure that the return is there. They're renting about 200 days a year. It really is about the numbers. I mean, if the numbers work and it's someplace you're interested in or you want to be, dip your toe in the water with one, and then, find out, hey, this is a great place. With us, we're following Johnny Morris, who owns Bass Pro Shop and Cabela's. He is putting big bucks in up there. Tiger Woods just designed his only Tiger Woods designed golf course. And we went ahead and bought a house in a neighborhood that's just one neighborhood up from it, to see how the golfing part does. Because we always like to say our little millions are following his big billions. Yes. And he's just pumping so much money in Big Cedar and all the beautiful places that are up there. And it's just such a cool family place, that we just still enjoy doing it. And so we just keep doing it. But, it's not like we need to sit down and figure it out someday so we could ever write a book, I guess, on it or whatever. But it's not as clear cut as like a single family home that's got a cash flow that you're renting every month. And especially a lot now that we're paying cash for a lot of them. But when we first started buying them, we bought our first one for the market had just crashed from about 285 down to 115. So
Wow.
If you're doing a lot of them, you can kind of think about the averaging out of, well, we bought these at 115. The last one we built was probably 265 or something. So you kind of just have to look at how many days they're going to be rented. You look at, do I have to have financing to get them? To me, if you have to have financing is going to dictate everything, right? Because you got to be able to cash flow. You don't want any negative cash flows no matter what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. So when
you have to love the area. It's, Go ahead.
Sorry about that. Yeah, no, you go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, like, we love Branson. We think it's such a cool family oriented place. And it's his stuff is super expensive. So you can't go take your extended family and stay at Big Cedar. It's a 5-star resort. You'll be out of money in a week, Mm-hmm. So with our cabins, they're very nice. We make sure that every bed is one I would want to sleep in. And I'm very particular. I spend a lot more on my sheets than most people will. And it's crazy, but I want a nice bed. Most people do when they go somewhere. I use top of the line furniture that I've negotiated wholesale prices for. Whereas most people, when you go up there, they've got all their old hodgepodge furniture. It looks like crap. We don't do that. We get all old hickory. It looks like just as if you walked in Johnny Morris's place over at Big Cedar, you'd see the same furniture in his stuff that you see in ours. So, and we just are having fun doing it because we feel like we're really providing something for families that they need and that they enjoy and that's fun. And we've taken our family the last Christmas, and one just opened up finally for Christmas this year, and we're going right after Christmas up there again because there's just so much cool, fun stuff to do for all the kids. And so, think of areas where it's a 7-hour drive for us, so it's not super long ways away. So you just kind of have to weigh out what you think. And are you willing, after you dip your toe in it and you get one or two, you might like it enough that you want to get enough of them that it now pays for someone on your team to manage because you can rent them from anywhere. Our girl used to live in Denton, where we are, or in our area. Then she moved to Oklahoma, which is about halfway. And now she's completely moved down there. Her and her family actually live now right in Branson. We bought a house for her to rent from us. But we did it. We kind of bought one first and then we bought a couple more. So you can kind of do that with your vacation rentals if you want to dip your toe in it.
Awesome. We had a great, Christine Delgado got on with us last week and did some great stuff on vacation rentals. When you talk about days rented or how you're renting them out, the avenues in which you're renting, what is it that you're using?
I'm using our data, like the data that we have. Is that what you mean?
No, I mean, like, are you using like the Airbnb, the,
we use Airbnb. We use our own website. Our website's called bransonvacationretreats.com.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have one called texasvacationretreats.com that has our ranch on it. The ranch is killing it. It's just killing it right now. We are right outside the city limits so that you feel like you're in the country with the most beautiful sunset in the world, but you're like close to everything, and people are just blowing those places up. They love it. So, you just never know what's going to, they're starting to be more restrictive in neighborhoods. So you kind of have to be careful of that. But if you can find a unique piece of property that you want to buy, and the reason we wanted to buy this property is because it's just outside the Denton city limits and they were putting a major highway on one side of it. So it's going to be a super huge long-term investment. But how do we make it make money right now so that we're not shelling our own money out? Because we ain't got time to go to no ranch. We thought we would, but we don't, So look for things like that too, because those kind of things are doing really well right now. And I think things are doing well because people are sick of their own four walls and not really flying places. They want to drive places and unload the car and stay a while.
Yeah. I mean, I look at me and Michael, usually this time of year, it's our anniversary and we go overseas to Europe. We're not going to Europe. So we're doing something on the coast that's close enough to drive. And that's a perfect, perfect thing to do that. Any questions on the vacation rentals, guys? No? Okay, perfect. Oh, thank you for putting that on there. BransonVacationRetreats.com. And I'm going to check it out. I've never been to Branson. When you said Big Cedar, I'm like, where in the world? I don't know much about that.
Johnny Morse has a place called Top of the Rock, and he's big into digging deep into these caverns and stuff. And they have a restaurant up on top, and down at the very bottom there's a wine cellar that's beautiful. It has a wine bar and it has a whiskey bar, and it's like, then you walk out to this amazing view of Table Rock Lake, and they've got this beautiful church where people get married. It's just spectacular. He has a 30,000 foot museum in the bottom also that has been named one of the best museums in the world. And it's all his stuff from Civil War or from the Indians that came around from around there. It's pretty spectacular. He's one amazing dude.
That's awesome. How many vacation rentals do you have?
I want to say we're like right at about 28.
Okay.
Yeah, and we bought 12 lots, so we'll be building 12 more in probably the next year. So we're trying to get them closed. Right now, they're just going through all the crap you got to go through to make sure the sewer's all there and all that stuff.
Right. Perfect. You mentioned before about underperforming properties that you've recently released. And I know Gary on one of our masterminds kind of mentioned the same thing. He had a couple underperforming properties. Tell us kind of what you mean by that in regards into your world.
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily underperforming in the form of rents, but there were a lot of maintenance.
Okay.
There was a lot of money always having to be spent on them. So we kind of got rid of a few of those.
Love it. Okay, perfect. All right, guys, what other questions do you have? I have 1,000 I could still ask, and yet I want to make sure I open up to everybody. And we've got a little bit more time left to talk to Linda. So what else do we have for questions? Wayne, I see you have one here. How do you, the property under contract has land under the, other than Wayne, you're gonna have to help me with this question. How would you decide manufactured homes, single, duplex, or 4 quads? Have you purchased land to build?
Okay, first of all, that's John's question.
Okay, you can blame John.
All right, so I think basically what he's asking is the property that's under contract that I mentioned to you has a lot of land with it. and he's trying to figure out what he can do. Well, and it's zoned for additional either single families, quads, or mobile homes or something. So he's trying to figure out what might be the best route to deal with that, because he definitely wants to put something on it, and he wants it to be income producing. So any thoughts on that, I guess, Linda?
Yeah, we have bought a little bit of land before and put houses on it. It was like in the middle of a subdivision. So my questions would be, where is the land? What else is around it? You want to put the most income producing thing you can. But the other thing too is you can go out and pay builder prices to put something on it. So can you go get a general contractor or somebody who's got the knowledge to do it, but they're not like super expensive like some of the other builders? That's what we did. We just contracted one of our, lower volume builders, and just paid him just kind of a contract price to oversee getting these houses. And I think we did like 6 or 8 on these lots. So it depends on what else is around it. That's going to matter too. Like if there's already tons of manufactured homes, then you don't want to go start putting necessarily regular homes there, right? Because you may not get your value back out of them. But
so the property itself is located about 40 minutes north of Tampa. It's up in Pasco County. It's an area called Newport Richey, which is going through some changes right now in and of itself, the town, as far as building. It's got a pretty sketchy reputation, but it's changing. So the things that are around it are manufactured homes. The way when you read it, they're looking for a combination of stuff. So they have single family, they have manufactured. I think probably manufactured might be the way to go. But it's I don't know. Is that answering your question?
Yeah, that's the thing. But if you think it's on the rise, you know what I mean, then you want to kind of step it up a grade and do small single family homes, right?
Right.
Because your resale is going to be better than if you do manufactured homes. You're going to have to really have the cash flow, because you're not going to have any value afterwards usually.
Right.
But if you could do some small singles, and if the neighborhood's coming up and you're going to just catch it as it's going up, and then now you're going to try to kind of be on the low end, but in a low end with a single family home that doesn't mind being around manufactured homes, that might be a way to go also. But again, it really is going to depend on what is your cost to get those built, and that's what you need to look at, is what would it cost you, and run the numbers both ways. If I bought manufactured homes, what does that cost? What does that entail? How much would they rent for? What is that cash flow? And look at the other. So look at both of them both ways. And the one good thing about if you did the manufactured home and the numbers were super, super good, you can always take those off later when the area goes up, and you could do something else with the land. That's a possibility too, but it's kind of hard with not really knowing the area and looking at it.
Right. Thank you.
You got to know what the rents are around there too. That's the main thing. I always say, go meet with a property manager and say, what price range do you wish you had 100 more houses at? And that's where you want to be.
Question. I like that question there. That's perfect. We got a question. It went to me, so I'm going to just say that. How do you determine appreciating neighborhoods, or is it just kind of a gut feeling, like ones that you can kind of start to see that this is because Tampa, we have a lot of different areas, just like everybody else does.
Yeah. Well, good news is you can run the comps yourself and see. But you can also kind of get a gut feeling also, and then run the numbers too and see what they tell you. But ours, we don't necessarily run them. We kind of use a gut and say, well, we really see this neighborhood starting to decline a bunch. Like maybe they're all siding homes or something, so really we're looking for more 322 or 422 with mostly bricks.
Okay.
We have bricks. I don't know. Y'all probably have something else.
Right. I get what you're saying. Yeah, we don't have a ton of bricks around here. I don't think we have. And then we've got one more question that I have here. Do you have a property management company that handles all your properties, or do you have people on the ground for the vacation rentals?
We've done it all different ways. And so here's my advice if we were starting over, how we would do it differently. If we were starting over, I would have somebody on my real estate sales team managing my properties also, until I got so busy or so many houses that was too much of a job for them to handle the transactions and everything in my business. And then I did a single person that just did my property management.
Got it. Love it.
But we've
Somebody
done it
wants-
all. We've owned the property management. We've sold the property management. We've used other property management. Now we have a full-time girl that does nothing but manage ours.
Well, and yeah, your portfolio just is in the need of that. You're starting out young. I like that. Somebody wants to hang out with you for a month. I'm going to tell them no. Because I know the person. No, I'm just teasing.
You better put your shoes on.
What's that?
They better put their tennis shoes on. I mean, we laugh all the time and go, man, we work circles around our kids. Our kids don't even remotely can't even keep up. We just keep we just love it and we have a good time doing it. So we just hop from one thing to the other.
That's my question. Linda, I have 2 8-year-old boys and a 4-year-old daughter. And so I mentioned this earlier on and I think this is probably a lot because I know there's a lot of moms and dads and people are just looking for generational wealth. And that's my big why. Do you have any advice as a parent who are teaching these kind of, because I've watched, I know Press, I get to see him and everything, who's really, succeeding in this. And my goal is to raise men that are assets to the world, right? Do you have any advice or anything that you'd like to share with anybody?
Yes. Well, I think I told you early on, we took our kids to Quantum Leap. Press was probably he's always the luckiest child because he was the last child. And, you get smarter as a parent. I will tell you the one thing we did wrong is my husband and I both worked really hard at a young age. And we tried to make it too easy on our kids because we blamed basketball and soccer and gymnastics and cheerleading as, why they couldn't have jobs. Make them get a job early because jobs teach you so much about serving other people and handling hard customers and things like that. So, there's a really good book. It's written by a Mormon family out of Utah. It's called 3 Steps to a Strong Family. They've got some great stuff in there about setting up family tradition, family law, family money. Just think about how to make them highly functioning individuals. The other thing I would say is let them know in advance. Let's say, for example, when you're 18 years old, we're going to pay for these few things and you're paying for everything else. You know what I mean? Because there are just so many things we didn't do correctly, and not that we have terrible kids or anything, but we didn't give them a leg up that we could have given them that we got because we were trying to make their life easier, and that was the wrong thing to do, right? With Press, he's fine. With our daughter, she struggles a little bit, to be honest with you. She struggles a lot because she just, adulthood felt like a punishment, and it should never feel like a punishment. I feel like a bird that let go of out of a cage.
Seriously, my 16-year-old birthday, my mom gave me a car, and I was like, let me go.
Each kid is different also, but I just think there's so many things you learn. And I think hard knocks help. Not that you're going to create some hard knocks, but if you put them out in the world and you let them experience things, they'll get some of those. And I just think that's the greatest thing you can do to prepare them. But also, I would tell Press, hey, Press, I'm going to teach a class on goals. Can you read this book by Brian Tracy and give me some ideas? Ask them what they think. What are your thoughts? Let's talk about that book. What did you get from it? And so Press really got the best of all that. He got to go to, all of my kids went to Quantum Leap. So, just what can you expose them to? Who are the people you can expose them to? Get them in Gary's Quantum Leap. Honestly, as soon as possible, make them jump on these kind of Zooms. You never know when one of them's it's going to spark a fire in them. And just expose them to as much as you possibly can. And, books are a way to do that. Classes, we have so many great classes at Keller Williams, and our kids learn the victim and the accountability language early. We had a thing around our house that if you were being a victim, we gave you the V sign. And so my kids hated to get the V sign. They just hated it, but it taught them, don't be a victim, be accountable. And so fun things like that that you're learning, come home and practice on your kids.
Yeah, mine come with a problem. I'm like, that's a problem. Tell me the solution. And then they'll give me the solution versus giving me the problem. And I like the V sign. I'm going to start using that. God bless them. They're going to be like, who is this woman you learned this from? And I love when you had mentioned, what do you think and what are their thoughts? One of my best mentors, he was big in, I mean, he was brilliant. And he always asked me what I thought about stuff. Well, what do you think? What should we do? And it gave me a sense of DNA in the outcome, a sense of, oh, maybe he's learning something from me. And in return, there was a give and take to that. So that's a great reminder for me. Thank you.
You know, and I remember when my son when Press went to college, our kids always wanted us to be at stuff. And I noticed that, and I would hear other parents say, well, I don't understand, you know, my son doesn't want me to be there. And then when I would get there, I would hear this most defeating talk, like demeaning talk to their kid. And I'm like, well, no wonder they don't want you to be there. There's no respect.
Mm-hmm.
They feel like, well, who would want you to be around if you're going to make them feel horrible all the time, right? So, you know, just always, of course, you're always the parent, but just be respectful and try to make them be proud of what they know and their knowledge and those kind of things, because it gives them a confidence.
Yeah.
And everybody likes to be asked, what do you think? Or what would you do if you were me? And sometimes they may have some darn good answers, you know,
things that we need to learn from. All right. We got a couple more questions and I want to on the time. We got about 9 minutes left. And and guys, here's what I'd like for you to do, because at the end of this, I'd love to figure out what are your ahas. And we also want to, respect all of our time. So have that ready so we can get that. When the market is hot as,
yeah, I was going to do these 2 questions. Are you getting those over in the chat?
I am.
Good. Okay, perfect. Want to make sure.
Yeah. When the market is hot, some of them are coming to me and some of them are coming to everybody. When the market is hot as it is there a general point where you pause and wait for it to change, or do you just always look for the deal?
A good deal is a good deal is a good deal is a good deal. So if a good deal comes today, I don't care what else is going on in the marketplace. As long as the numbers work and it's a good deal, I don't have any stress over us buying it, right? Now, there are fewer right now that we're holding because most of them, if they're out there, and my brother-in-law likes to flip a little bit more than us, and also with us, with where we are in our age, flipping is fine because we got plenty of money coming in passively. We're going to be fine, more than fine. But so we are flipping a little bit more, but no, if you got a good deal, buy it. And if somebody, asks, what do I think the market's going to do? I can't imagine that there's not some kind of repercussion of what's going on with COVID, because even though we've all been blessed and the market's been amazing, there's got to be people that are dying out there with their businesses and their restaurants. And I can't even imagine. So to me, I would say, surely there's some deals going to come somewhere, because there's got to be a breaking point for some of these poor people who have lost their jobs or lost their businesses. I mean, there's just too many shut up doors right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree with that completely. What do you suggest a home warranty? Do you suggest a home warranty for each rental?
Oh, no, we haven't done that. Nah, we haven't done that. I mean, you can do it. We just have so many, and maybe we've done it a few times in the past, but more than likely, no.
Okay. All right. This one kind of probably pluses the last question a little bit and says, what do you see happening in real estate in the next 12 to 18 months? Do you see opportunities within the, to increase within the distressed properties?
More than likely, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
More than likely. I just don't know how we can come through all this. And because it's hard for us to understand, because again, we're not affected like everybody else has been.
Mm-hmm.
Like other industries, like the hotel and entertainment industry's been.
Well, and Gary brought this up in Mega Camp, and if you guys hadn't a chance to hear him talk about this one specific thing, but he talked about when they look at who's been impacted the most, it's in the service industry. The people who are in the other pieces, the problem is that can trickle up just as easy as it can trickle down. So we have to be very aware of all of that also. Awesome.
And I think our single families weren't affected as much as I think we're right above that rent range must be, because we only had like 4 people have to kind of work out their payments a little bit on the front end. And one of them lost their job, but my girl found her another job like that day.
You'll keep renting with me. I'll get you a job.
It's like, oh no, you're not. Hang on, I'll find you a job.
Love that.
So we've been blessed in that area, but I think it's because our price range is probably right above that person. We're not really in the, those are probably some of the properties we got rid of, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. All right, guys, we got 5 minutes left. I'd love to get either an action item that you want to take or an aha that you've gotten from this. I think I've taken about, 20 pages of notes. Meredith is the one who generally has all the best notes. So Meredith, if you took great notes, feel free to send them and I'll pop them in that Google Doc. And just a reminder, remember, I have an MREI Google Doc that I'm happy to share with you that you can put in your own drive. You just need to send me an email at kimberlyhorn@kw.com if you'd like that. And then Mary will just pop that in there for you. What are your ahas and what are your action items?
Yes, we love action items.
I know.
Stop gathering the information and take some action.
Take some action.
I like the idea about always finding the deal and the 4 Ds. It's something that I've never heard before. So even that's like an unpleasant thing to, divorce, just reaching out to divorce attorneys, that's like something I would never think about. And, just reflecting on that, there's always a way to find a deal and there's always a way, to look for more opportunities. So I thought that was a unique way to look at it.
Yeah.
Great.
Meredith, I agree. The always find a deal. I think sometimes when we see such a hot market right now, we think there's not deals. I will tell you, we went around just our neighborhood, which in the gist of it, everything seems fine. But as we were going around, we were seeing a lot of distressed properties just within our neighborhood. And I think that gives us the ability to say, how are they doing and how could I help them? So I love that. So thanks so much. All right, somebody else.
Yeah, I took many pages of notes as well. A couple stuck out to me, the RVVT, which you can use in really everything. However, I love the value gap, providing that and dropping that in with people outside the industry or, wherever, it can be in anything. So I love that. I'm definitely going to put that into action, as well as the parenting. Don't just focus on how to make their life easier. And I think depending on where you came from and what story, I find myself doing that often. And like, oh, what can I do for them? How can I provide for them due to my upbringing? However, what am I setting them up for success? So I think that's huge, and I appreciate that.
Love it. Christine Delgado has been frozen the whole time, so she's been texting me questions and stuff. And she says her action item is that she's going to look at 2 homes and close on one before the end of the year. And Christine has an amazing portfolio. If you missed her on our last call, and I forgot to record it, so oops. She just has an amazing outlook on how she is building her portfolio. And Linda, I know that you and her have spoken before in the past. So thank you, Christine, for doing that. All right, who else? Great job, Jared and Meredith.
I like to get as much money on the right side as you can.
Yeah.
And having that. So I need to find myself a little investor, a little partner.
Yeah, guys, go back and read that book. I mean, Robert Kiyosaki, well, I can't say his last name, so God gave me hair and horn as 2 names, so I've got issues. Go back and read that book. I think when I actually saw that the first time, it didn't have an impact because I wasn't in a space to understand it and recognize where I was programmed one way of thinking. And maybe this is opening your eyes. You're on these calls for a reason, and it's to build your thinking outside of just the norm. So go back and read that book and look at how do you get it on the right side versus the left side. Love that, Jennifer. All right.
Also,
I just had a quick question. If I,
Oh, okay. Paul, give us yours, and then who is that? Is that Brian? I'll get you next. How about that?
Yeah. And knowing your freedom number. That's, having the goal and working towards that. Because, if you don't know what you're working towards, you just don't know when you get there either. So,
yeah.
Thanks, Linda.
I know the one thing Christine Delgado has, and I keep bringing her up because I know she can't speak, and I'm sure she wants to. She has a freedom number. Not only it's on her GPS for her passive income that she had shared with Paul and I at one point. So it's amazing. Brian, go for you. You had a question?
Yeah. I just wanted to say, Linda, thank you so much for this today. And I was at Quantum. You're a treasure, and it's been a blessing, and I really appreciate it.
Pleasure.
you know, I'm just starting my journey, I guess, in I'm converting my house now in a remodel to become my first rental. I'm the GC on the project, you know, technically, you know, going anyway. I guess my question is, I've heard the term, and I try to apply this in my life. You know, don't sweat the small stuff; it's all the small stuff. But for some reason, I'm sweating just these little details that are being done in there, and it's like I know I need to just get over it because it's going to be turned into a rental, and I just need to move on. How is it that you just don't sweat the small stuff? I guess
What's your behavior, Brian?
my person.
You're-
I'm a dynamo, a driver.
Are you a C also?
No,
No detail?
no.
None? That's interesting. I don't know because I don't have any detail anywhere. So my big problem is I'm a quick start and I go too fast and miss a ton of details, but I'd rather clean up a mess later than
Right.
than to have it hold me back. So a lot of times that's someone's behavior. You want it correct and you're like a perfectionist or something. And the thing to remember is you learn in the action. So go at 70%, go at 80%. Don't wait for 100% of anything because you'll learn from that 70 to 100 is where you'll learn the most, right? So just go. And so, you know, for me, it's a natural behavior and almost sometimes a fault, but I've learned how to work with that and just go because my issue is the opposite. You know, I don't see the detail. I miss every detail, you know. And the good news is my husband is more detailed, so he'll pick up and see some of the things that I don't. But so, you know, and there's an assessment called Colby that tells you how you like to take action. And some people like more research and more all that stuff. I'm none of that. I'm just go. And that
Right.
its own set of problems, right? But you got to say, okay, what's the worst that's going to happen if I don't get all these details, or what's it costing me to spread this thing out and have to get all the details or whatever, what else could I be doing with my time? And if my time can be better spent, making, $1,000 an hour over here and I'm piddling with $30 an hour, I got to weigh those out. Right. So, I mean, that's how I do it. I just say, what's my most dollar productive? And also I keep a sign in front of me that says, when you do something you're good at, you cheat someone from doing something they're great at. And so I'm terrible at the details, so I'm never going to be the one to do it. And if I can go, throw more crap up against the wall and some of it sticks and some of it doesn't, that works for me. Right. So but I also have to be realistic about where does that cause me problems in my life. Right. And everybody has to learn what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses and which weaknesses are worth trying to, work around and which ones it's not worth it. Let's just keep moving. So that's the way I would do it is just say,
Right.
What's it costing me? And if the cost is greater, then I got to just let go of it. And if it's keeping me from, taking a step, then because it's at 70% and I want it 100, when given the opportunity, always go at 70 or 80. Don't wait for the 100.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks.
No, I would agree with that completely.
More money, unless it's going to bring you more money.
Yeah, and I would add, Brian, did you say you're living in the current house that you're doing?
Yeah. So just doing a remodel and
You've probably got emotion
yeah.
tied
And
living.
and I'm here and I'm seeing these guys and I'm like, come on, man, come on.
You're gonna have to let it go. I have a song. It's from Frozen. But yeah.
It's different if you're seeing the detail, because Jimmy does this. He'll walk into our cabins, I won't see a thing, and he'll walk in and he'll have a page-long list for these guys. They hate to see him come to the cabins, but that part's good because he's doing it for our stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If it's causing you a delay in moving forward on something, that's different. But if it's you just seeing things that you want to make sure they get right, I don't see anything wrong with that. Right. Unless it's costing you something.
Right.
Unless you're not moving, or you could be out making $1,000 an hour and you're in here making, $30 an hour. That's different. But if you're just making a list for other people to do, heck yeah, give them a list.
Awesome. Okay, guys, thank you. Well, we've gone over a little bit, and I always, when we're doing these, I'm making sure we fill the time, and yet we've gone over. So, Linda, heartfelt thank you. I know everybody, I've been getting people saying thank you so much. Thank you for doing this, for your time and your energy around this. I've already got my Freedom Doc number because I emailed you or texted you or whatever you asked me to do. So thanks for that. And I appreciate what you guys have done. Hey guys, go out and have a great day. And remember, guys, go out and get this book. If you'd like us to be a part of this, you got to go get this book and let's start reading it together. Okay. Bye guys.
Thank you. See ya. Have a great day.
Thanks, Linda.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, Linda.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Bye guys.